2 Chronicles 18, Jehoshaphat allies with Ahab. Now Jehoshaphat had great wealth and honor and was allied by marriage with Ahab. Some years later he went down to visit Ahab in Samaria, and Ahab slaughtered many sheep and oxen for him and the people who were with him, and induced him to go up against Ramoth Gilead. Ahab, king of Israel, said to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, "Will you go with me to fight against Ramoth Gilead?" He answered, "I am as you are, and my people are as your people. Your hopes and your concerns are ours. We will be with you in the battle." Further, Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, "Please inquire first for the word of the Lord." Then the king of Israel assembled the prophets and said, "Shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I refrain?" And they said, "Go up, for God will hand it over to the king." But Jehoshaphat said, "Is there no prophet of the Lord still here by whom we may inquire?" The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "There is still one man by whom we may inquire, but I hate him. For he never prophesies anything good for me, but always evil. He is Micaiah, the son of Imlah." And Jehoshaphat said, "Let not the king say so. Perhaps this time it will be different." Ahab's false prophets assure victory. Then the king of Israel called for an officer and said, "Bring Micaiah the son of Imlah quickly." Now the king of Judah, who were sitting each of his throne, arrayed in the robes, they were sitting at the threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets were prophesying before them. Zedekiah, the king of Cheniah, had made horns of iron for himself and said, "Thus says the Lord, with these you shall gore the Arameans until they are destroyed." And all the prophets prophesied, saying, "Go up with Ramoth Gilead and succeed. The Lord will hand it over to the king." That's the false ones. Okay, now we've got Micaiah brings word from God. The messengers who went to call Micaiah said to him, "Listen, the words of the prophets are of one accord, foretelling a favorable outcome for the king. So just let your word be like one of them and speak favorably." But Micaiah said, "As the Lord lives, I will only speak what my God says." When he came to the king said to him, "Micaiah shall go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I refrain?" And he said, "Go up and succeed, for they will be handed over to you." Then the king said to him, "How many times must I warn you, make you swear an oath to tell me nothing but the truth in the name of the Lord?" Then Micaiah says, "I saw all the people of Israel scattered on the mountains as sheep that have been no shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let each one return to his house in peace." Then the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "Did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good in regard to me, but only evil?" So Micaiah said, "Therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing on his right and on his left. Then the Lord said, Who will entice Ahab, king of Israel, go up and fall defeated at Ramoth Gilead?" And one said this, and another said that. Then a spirit came forward, and I stood before the Lord and said, "I will entice him." The Lord said to him, "By what means?" And he said, "I will go out and be a deceptive spirit in the mouth of all his prophets." Then the Lord said, "You are enticed to entice him and also succeed. So go and do so." Now you see, the Lord put a deceptive spirit in the mouth of these prophets of yours, and the Lord has actually proclaimed disaster against you. Then Zedekiah, the son of Cheniah, came up and struck Micaiah in the cheek and said, "Which way did the Spirit of the Lord go when he departed from me to speak to you?" Micaiah said, "Behold, you will see on that day when you go into an inner room, desperately trying to hide yourself." The king of Israel said, "Take Micaiah and return him to Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash the king's son, and say, Thus the king, put this man in prison and feed him just enough bread and water to survive until I return in peace safely." But Micaiah said, "If you actually return in peace, the Lord has not spoken by me." And he added, "Listen to what I've said, your people, all of you." Ahab's defeat and his death. So Ahab the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat king of Judah went up against Ramoth Gilead. The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "I will disguise myself and will go into battle, but you put on your royal robes." So the king of Israel disguised himself, and they went into the battle. And the king of Aram, Syria, had commanded the captains of his chariots, saying, "Do not fight with the small or the great, but only with the king of Israel." So when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat of Judah, they said, "It is the king of Israel." So they returned to the fight against him. But Jehoshaphat called out for God's help, and the Lord helped him, and God diverted them away from him. When the captains of the chariots saw that it was not the king of Israel, they turned back from pursuing him. Then a certain man drew his bow at random and struck Ahab, the king of Israel, between the scales of his armor. So Ahab said to his chariot driver, "Turn around and take me out of the battle, because I am seriously wounded." The battle raged that day, and the king of Israel propped himself up in his chariot in front of the Arameans, Syrians, until the evening, and at sunset he died. So he's killed in the battle. So they can't ignore those true prophetic warnings. Not every yes voice is from God. You have to remember that. You got to be careful the voices you listen to, because not every good thing is a God thing. Not every voice you listen to through people is of the Lord. So God says to test those spirits. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.